Hi everyone, my name is Alexandra Cuarto. Welcome to Reclaim Your Health Summit, where our goal is to find out the root causes of many chronic illnesses, as well as finding out real and lasting solutions to prevent and reverse sicknesses through natural and functional medicine. Are you ready to reclaim your health back? Well then, let's go. Today we have with us Dr. Gillermo Ruiz, who finished a Bachelor of Science degree in Medical Science Administration at the University of Central Florida. After implementing optimal lifestyle habits to improve his personal health, he has found his calling in natural medicine and graduated from Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine. He specializes in thyroid and infectious diseases, heavy metal toxicity, anemia, prototherapy, autoimmune disorders, as well as weight management and lifestyle modifications. Dr. Ruiz holds a position as a researcher at the Arizona State University Biodesign Institute, where he focuses on the use of botanicals on multi-drug resistant bacteria and viruses. And in his spare time, Dr. Ruiz hosts his own podcast, 3030 Health, where he interviews the most influential personalities in the health movement. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Ruiz to our show. I am super excited to have you here with us. So welcome.
Hi, how are you? I'm
I'm,
super excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. I am super excited to have you here. So can you please tell us a little bit more why you chose the natural health? Was it because of your own personal struggles with health?
It's a long story that I'm gonna condense into like the smallest digestible format I can muster. Um, it all started. Ever since I was like 6 years old, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, and I've been pursuing that path for a very long time. So after I graduated from undergrad, I started working at a level one trauma center for kids as an EMT. And I learned a lot about medicine and modern medicine and how amazing it can be. The problem is that we really don't get really deep into the underlying cause of disease. For example, you can have someone that has a heart attack, and then they end up in the emergency department, and sometimes they do compressions, they stabilize them, they send them to ICU, they get them better with medications and in all of these different interventions, sometimes even operations, and then they save them, and it's amazing. And modern medicine is fantastic. And then when they get their discharge papers, they get something that says, eat healthy. How does a person that has been eating poorly for 40 or 50 years go from having this very awful event in their life, going through a traumatic situation, and then they get discharged with this eat healthy?
Yeah.
Who's going to be influencing them? Who's going to be telling them how to eat healthy? The words are so easy to say, it's just like, oh, live a better life. But what does that mean? So at that time, when I was looking at how do I want to influence the world? How do I want to help people? I knew that working in the conventional model was going to be satisfying, but not fulfilling. And I wasn't going to be able to actually impact the health of not just one person, but like the whole family. And then I started, around that point in time, I started like eating better. I started doing the paleo diet. I started listening to different blogs and podcasts. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Chris Kresser. He's the person that said naturopath in one of his interviews. And I was like, what's that? So I started looking into it, and I figured that the naturopathic profession worked with lifestyle, worked with what we're able to prescribe, we're able to diagnose, which is super important, order labs, but also take the time to educate our patients about the importance of sleep, the importance of eating clean, the importance of maybe sometimes supplements are enough to help you. Sometimes medicine, is necessary. So I like to say that naturopathic medicine found me, not the other way around.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so nice, that it just kind of like it happens for a reason, right?
Totally.
Those little steps and yeah, like it's just great. So, you specialize in autoimmune diseases. Can you explain what it exactly is?
So, we specialize in we have a very narrow niche. We do a lot of work with autoimmune diseases. And within autoimmune diseases, we really specialize in thyroid health. And I know your audience is very important, and it's very keen in ways to improve their energy. And we see a lot of people with low energy. Some symptoms of thyroid disease could be, being cold, losing your hair, having no energy, not being able, not being able to poop. Constipation is huge. But what is an autoimmune disease? An autoimmune disease is when your immune system kind of goes wonky and starts attacking your body. And this can be caused by many different reasons. For example, that a very clear example that maybe a lot of people are aware of, it would be like celiac disease. And that's where when you eat products containing gluten, mainly from wheat, um, your body recognizes that protein, and that's very important, that protein as as an attack, as an invader. And then the body starts attacking that protein, and by proxy, it starts attacking the intestines. And by attacking the intestines, the villi, or the little fingers that are all over your intestine, that absorb water and absorb nutrients, become they eroded, or they just shrivel up, and now you can't absorb the water and the nutrients, and then you start having chronic diarrhea, and then you start having bleeding. And the most important part, of autoimmune disease is identifying what is it that your immune system is reacting to, and removing that. Because we can give a lot of drugs to prevent diarrhea, but unless you take away the offending factor, you won't be solving the actual problem that's causing the diarrhea. And then it's funny because within the health space, we say, oh, if you eat clean, you can solve diabetes, and you can solve celiac disease and lupus and chronic fatigue syndrome and arthritis. And what happens is that these proteins, whether they're coming from food, or whether they're coming from exposures to things like like heavy metals. Heavy metals is another big thing that can cause these autoimmune conditions. Um, or pollen. Whenever you're outside and you're breathing in, pollen. All of this triggers can cause different symptoms. For example, you can have an allergy to gluten, but instead of attacking the intestines, it could attack your joints, and
Mhm.
that's called arthritis. Or if you have this allergy to gluten, okay, and your immune system attacks the gluten, and it creates the immunoglobulins that attack your thyroid, you could have Hashimoto's thyroiditis or Graves' disease.
Wow.
So now you can see how, by doing one simple intervention, you could affect so many systems in the body.
Wow, and who knew, right? Like a lot of people think like certain issues happen because one thing, but it could be so many different results from one little um, thing that is actually happening to the body. So, how do you actually treat autoimmune disease in your practice?
Well, again, since we focus on thyroid disease, so most of our patients come in with symptoms of thyroid. And as a sidetrack, when I went into naturopathic medicine, okay, I thought I was going to be helping people with preventative disease, trying to prevent disease. But our healthcare system is so flawed that even me, working in the complementary or naturopathic medicine world, I still treat people that are sick. And it's sad, you know? So I
Yeah.
have to get him better before we can start doing, you know, some preventive treatments. So they come to us with maybe, you know, symptoms of fatigue and, you know, hair loss, and, you know, or a different doctor has diagnosed them with Hashimoto's or Graves, and the other doctor just doesn't know what to do. So they come to us, and we first fix their thyroid. You know, we focus on getting that thyroid working. And while we're doing that, we go through a very specific process to eliminate all of the biggest causes for that for all of autoimmune conditions. So whether it's you have dysbiosis, and you're constantly under attack from infectious agents in your digestive system, or maybe you have toxic metals, and we make sure that we live in a clean environment, and when necessary, we help them get rid of those toxic metals. Or maybe your circadian rhythm is all over the place, and that affects your cortisol. And cortisol is a very potent immune suppressant. And when that cortisol is not perfect, you can have hidden infections that show up that can cause some of the symptoms. Now, it's more, you know, this is a very brush stroke, way of describing what we do, but it depends on the patient. You know, like, for example, a 20-year-old woman from Hawaii, you know, it's probably not going to, I'm not going to be very concerned with having heavy metals versus, you know, a 60-year-old woman that lived in Michigan, you know? So it's like, we have to make sure we focus, because we also don't want to throw everything at the patient and try to do everything at the same time. So it takes a little bit of digging, a little bit of talking to the patients, being able to sit down with them for an hour and ask about everything, you know, sleeping habits, eating habits, like, how does your poop look in the toilet? You know, it's a very sophisticated and stepwise system.
Yeah, and that's probably the key too, you know, when you actually go back and ask those questions, right? Like the lifestyle, where they grow up, everything makes a big difference. Because, like you say, it's not just one little pill like regular doctor will give you for same symptoms, you know, to eliminate that, the toxicity or whatever they're eating, right? So that you can get those great solutions for them. So, is there a way where people don't have to worry about autoimmune system, you know, the diseases that are coming with it, or it's
What do
always
you?
going to be a worry?
Well, you know, not everyone has autoimmune disease. Some people have very robust and well-controlled autoimmune systems, and not everyone suffers from autoimmune disease. Um, for example, we get patients that say, "Well, my mom has Hashimoto's," or patients that have daughters. Will my daughter have Hashimoto's, or will my daughter develop celiac? Will my son develop arthritis? Um, Starting now, changing your lifestyle in order to help you prevent your immune system from going crazy is the most important step. Because once your immune system gains knowledge and it starts creating the immunoglobulins that attack those tissues, it's very hard to deprogram your immune system. Once it's programmed, it's really hard to deprogram. Now, you can do things to eliminate things that are turning on the program, but once it's programmed, it's always going to be there. And I'm going to give you an example. Someone that gets Epstein-Barr virus, EBV, they're always going to test positive in the IgG column of testing. Okay, so if you have had in the past, and most adults have had CMV, Epstein-Barr, if you have ever encountered Epstein-Barr, for the rest of your life, you will be at a positive on the IgG portion of the Epstein-Barr lab test. Okay. The thing is that if you are not careful, and if you're not able to take care of yourself for your immune system to be as optimal as possible, that infection can be reactivated, and that's what we don't want. Okay, so think of your immune system and your genetics as, like a gun that is loaded, and as long as you're not being exposed constantly to the things that can make our immune system vary, you're never going to shoot that gun. But the moment that you start eating an unhealthy lifestyle, whether it's staying up late and not eating a clean diet, and doing all those things that we know intuitively that we should be doing, that gun can go off. Okay, that's not to say that we are not able to live our lives, but think of stressors as something that we can manage. So there's stressors that we can control, and there are stressors that we cannot control. Like, for example, if you're going to school and you're trying to become a doctor, there's going to be a lot of nights that you won't be sleeping your 8 hours. Okay. And then traffic, that's another stressor that you cannot control. But there are stressors that you can control. And for example, eating healthy, eating clean is something that you can control. That is a decision that you're making. No one's forcing you to eat crap. So when I was in school, and we had like different testing cycles, and every 12 weeks we would have finals. I knew that during that time, I wasn't going to be sleeping a lot, and I was going to be very stressed out. And during that time, that's when I used to eat the cleanest. And I would hear people say, oh, I'm so stressed out. I'm going to eat whatever I want because I'm stressed out. And that is the wrong way of approaching this, because when you're stressed out, you don't want to add more stress to your stressors. So being able to balance those stresses and being able to have a life that is worth living, there's a saying, it's not the years in the life, it's the life in the years. I don't care how many supplements or medicines you're taking. I just want you to live the best life that you can, so you can be healthy and have a fulfilling life.
Yeah, and that is so true, like just even doing those little steps, right? Like you said, if you can't sleep the 8 hours, at least eat well. And if you maybe can't eat well because you're traveling or something, at least try to sleep better, just little things, right? Or just be more calmer around the traffic or whatever, those little steps. So that's really great. So do you have an advice on for people who, let's say, are suffering with thyroid disease? How can they thrive instead of just living day to day?
Well,
Like sometimes it's
yeah, so it goes back to just what you said, like trying to balance your stressors. For example, have you ever heard of people saying, oh, I went to Europe and I was eating pizza and I lost weight, and they're like, how come I come to the United States and I can't do that, or Canada? So what happens is this, when you're on vacation in Europe, you're actually having fun. You're not, you're there because you want to be there, and you're having an experience. Maybe you go with someone you love, and you're sleeping better. You're walking everywhere. And then and when you go eat, you're eating things that are delicious, and you are having fun. Okay. You can see how that's fun. And because you're not stressed, because you don't have to be in traffic, because you don't have deadlines, you can modulate that stressor and be able to eat a little bit crappier. But if we try to do that in the United States with all the stressors and not being able to sleep and not doing all those things, you're not going to be able to lose weight and eat crappy. Okay. So it's about changing that mindset. Having thyroid disease is something unfortunate. And I wish no one had that autoimmune attack on their thyroid. But that's it. If it happened to you, if you are the one that drew the unlucky card that you have Hashimoto's, hey, let's fix it. And let's do all of the things that are needed in order to live the most fulfilling life that you can have. Whether that is taking a little bit of thyroid medication, monitoring that you don't have nodules, making sure that your antibodies stay as low as possible, and focusing on, if you have a family, preventing your family from maybe developing this, and by instead of feeling guilty or feeling like you have a a disease process, let's see this as an opportunity, as a motivator to make sure that you're living your best life so you can be the most productive you can be.
Yeah, yeah, that is so true. Yeah, so thank you so much for that. That is really good information. And I know you're so busy, and I know your shirt says 30/30 health, right? Strong. Um, and that's your podcast in your, spare time. You have all this extra time. Do you also have something for our audience?
Totally. So I have something that I made a couple of years ago. It's an ebook, and it's called "The Top Natural Supplements for Your Medicine Cabinet." And I went into the literature and looked at all of the different things that we can do naturally, so you don't have to go into and use like a medication. For example, for nausea, there is nothing as effective as ginger. Ginger can be help to reduce nausea. And one of my favorites actually is for coughing. I found a natural remedy that is more effective than steroids for your cough. And that's, guess what it is? It's a mixture. It's a mixture of coffee and honey.
I thought it would be honey, but I didn't know about the coffee.
Totally. So very interesting. So honey has their antiviral properties, and it can help soothe, and coffee, and the caffeine in coffee can be a spectorant, so it can open up your bronchioles. So the synergistic combination of the two is more effective at reducing the symptoms of cough than steroids. And steroids are not the best thing, because they do reduce your immune system. So what would you rather do? Reduce your immune system, or have something that is more effective and drink some coffee with honey?
Yeah. So when you say coffee, you would take it black and honey, right? You wouldn't add anything else.
So the science says that it's a pretty cool mixture. So it's the worst coffee in the world. It's a Nescafe instant coffee, which is like awful. That's what my grandma used to drink. And then you make a very thick solution of it, okay? And you put a bunch of honey, and you make like a syrup almost, and you keep it in your fridge, and then you take a couple of tablespoons per day. So yeah,
Wow.
that's what the science reported. But all of the instructions are on the ebook, and all of the ingredients are on the ebook.
Oh, that's so exciting. Wow. I would really definitely want that one because those homemade remedies, they're like the best. They might not taste the
Oh yeah,
best, but
totally.
you get used to it, right?
I don't know, man. Coffee and honey probably taste pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Yeah, exactly. Like I come from a country where we eat chicken feet, so really coffee and honey, it's improvement. Well, thank you so much for taking your time and sharing all your great knowledge. And I know we got a lot of great information. So thank you again,
Oh, thanks
and
for
hope
having me.
thank you, and hope to hear from you again.
Okay, awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye bye. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We will see you next time.